All right, joining me live from the desk in Perth is the Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles. Thanks so much for your time ahead of this Labor launch. Take us through this housing policy. How would it work, and could this lift house prices even further?
Well, this is a really important announcement which is focused on first home buyers. As you said in the intro, what this does is expand the existing home guarantee scheme so that more first home buyers will be able to access the 5% deposit, where the government, essentially by being a guarantor for a proportion of the loan, is able to remove mortgage insurance. What that will mean is that if you look at a median house price today in Australia, which is $820,000, that's a $41,000 deposit will be able to help a first home buyer buy that property, when the last time $41,000 was able to buy you a median house on a 20% deposit was back in 2002. So that gives you a sense of what this does. Now, what we also need to be doing, though, is having more housing stock, and that's been a feature of what we've been doing with our housing policy over the last 3 years. But this $10 billion to open up 100,000 houses exclusively for first home buyers, and that's the important bit, so they won't be competing with property investors in relation to those homes, is a really important step forward in terms of increasing the housing stock. And this is a really big step in terms of enabling more people to get into the housing.
I guess it's this second aspect you talk about, which I find the most kind of intriguing of this policy. I mean, can it distort the market? It's pretty. Is it unprecedented here, or has there been anything similar in the States?
Well, in terms of the developments?
Yeah.
Well, there are. State schemes right now, there are ones that exist which work with developers to have homes provided particularly for first home buyers. Renewal SA, for example, is a scheme which works in South Australia where that occurs. Government needs to be in the business right now of getting more homes built. Fundamentally, that is the issue. And the scale at which we are talking about doing that now really rivals anything that we've seen since the end of the Second World War.
Where does the $10 billion go? Because if the house is then sold, presumably some money comes back, or how does it work?
Firstly, we're working with the states is the answer to that question. $8 billion of the 10 will be based on loans that will be made to state governments without interest, which enables them to move forward much quickly in terms of property development. There'll be and work with developers in relation to that. $2 billion will be there for grants, again working through states. It enables us to fast-track property development, but critically, and this is the important part, property development which is earmarked specifically for first home buyers.
Right. But 100,000 homes for first home buyers then, have you got a year in terms of when that will be concluded?
Yeah, so this is over 8 years, so it doesn't happen all at once, and that's an important point as well, to go to your earlier question, Andrew, to make sure that we're not distorting the market. But we'll begin, and obviously these things don't happen overnight, we will begin the process of this really from the first day of a re-elected Albanese government. And the first of those homes will come online during the next term of government.
Peter Dutton said earlier in the campaign he wanted to be the Prime Minister for housing, affordability and accessibility. Is this about tackling that?
Peter Dutton says a whole lot of things. The last thing we do is draw our inspiration from anything that Peter Dutton says, because the truth of the matter is the man is all over the place. And you can see that with the announcement that he's made today in terms of their policies. We know that there needs to be greater housing stock in Australia. That's why we set up the Housing Australia Future Fund, and that has done really good work in terms of particularly getting more social housing planned and constructed. We've set an ambitious target of 1.2 million homes through the end of this decade, where 400,000 have been built during the course of this term. So we're on track to meet that.
Do you think you can meet that?
Yeah, we do, and this will play a part in that. I mean, the back end of this extends beyond that period, but the earlier homes will contribute to it. But we definitely do.
Isn't there a problem with lack of builders? I mean, anecdotally, everyone knows that it's slower than it should be, construction, because there isn't enough labour.
That is most definitely a challenge, which is why, in terms of free TAFE and what we're doing there, well, firstly, we've got free TAFE across the board, which is seeing more people take up construction trades, but we've also got elements of our free TAFE policy, which is specifically directed to those construction trades, which give incentives for people to study that. And so what we are seeing is more labour coming online. I mean, it is most definitely a challenge, but it's one that we're meeting. And again, this is the point. We're thinking about the entirety of this issue in terms of having the people to build it, making sure that we're working with states and through them local governments to get planning approvals, putting the money up, making it easier for first home buyers to get into the market with a lower deposit. Like, this is a comprehensive plan to get this done.
Would the homes be in the cities mostly, or some in regional? Would they be in every state and territory, the first home buyer homes?
Well, we'll be working with all the states and territories for sure, and that's a matter that we'll work through with the states and territories as to exactly what the best place is and how we can get this.
Would they all have to agree for this to? For this policy to work?
This is a policy where we will be working with them, but there are incentives here, and our track record, as you can see, is that we're managing to get things done with the states across the whole suite of policies.